Alright, Fairy Tail. Episode 220. It was entitled 413 Days. Now, originally, when I first watched it, I was had very mixed emotions about it because it felt too silly even for Fairy Tail filler. But as Strider pointed out to me, apparently this isn't actually filler, but there was a chapter that was like I guess an extra chapter that wasn't animated before, but was animated now.
It's an OVA, yeah.
OVA, but I mean OVA is technically, I guess, canon. I guess because I mean, especially since there's nothing about what's going on in any major plot line is even mentioned, or even it's not like this. Oh my God, this can't possibly take place at any time because this arc and this arc. No, it's just one day out of their lives.
Yeah, it's probably filler. It's just not anime-specific filler.
It's It's in canon filler.
No, canon is just part of the main story. That's all canon means. It's just
Or
not anime-specific filler.
or like manga fluff.
I don't know.
Whatever. The point is that it was okay. I mean, it was kind of like I said, it was odd because Juvia and her over obsessiveness decides, oh, I met Gray 413 days ago, so let's make it. It's our anniversary, and of course you see her room, which is covered in creepy gray memorabilia
Mm-hmm.
that she all made herself, obviously. And then, for some reason, Urza gives her the idea that, oh, it's your anniversary, you should do something for it. And insert plot of the episode. Juvia trying to figure out what she should give Gray for their anniversary. And then she, for some reason, decides that she should make him a hand-knitted scarf. Yes, give a scarf to the guy who doesn't get cold. And after Gray seemingly acts like a real douchebag and throws it to the ground and yells at Juvia, she gets she's very sad at this. And then Leon appears and explains that, today's the anniversary of Ur's death. So Gray's a little more emotional than normal. Or should I say more of a douchebag than normal. And then, the Juvia gets this whole speech from Urza about how, oh, well, every day has a different meaning for everyone. And then Gray, who's thinking about this day and its importance, and suddenly remembers, oh, yeah, I remember one time when we were in training, when me and Leon were in training, and still haven't gotten to the point in our training where we weren't bothered by the cold, or gave us a scarf. And out of sentimentality, he goes back to search for the scarf and puts it on. And then decides, and then the next day she apologizes to Gray, and then it's like, oh, let me give you give you a giant pillow of me for our 414th day anniversary. So it was silly and very oddballish, even for a Fairy Tail filler, I felt. But the anime decided to give the Fairy Tail fans Groovia for Valentine's Day. And that's pretty much the gist of it. Next, One Piece. Now, One Piece, episode 682. It's entitled "Breaking Through Enemy Lines." Luffy and Zoro launch the counterattack. It starts off with, seeing the group from underground heading up to the surface, and Sabo, Koala, and the other revolutionary and Hack go off on their own and head in a totally different direction, whereas Robin moves towards the palace. Of course, then you see Law and Luffy arguing over what to do next, while Koala investigates the underground trading port and one of the ships. When then you have the Marines attempting to restrain all the out of control people, and then you have Doflamingo, who's having a meeting with his top executives, and where he reveals that the Marines will not hinder their activities for now, at least. And then Luffy decides to drag Zoro and Law around the country to head to Doflamingo, and on their way they run into several Marines and Don Quixote underlings. But at the episode ends with them being stopped by Fujitora. So it was kind of a so-so episode, with the usual One Piece pacing, and decent, setup for the next week. The Luffy, Zoro, and Law being confronting Fujitora, and the preview promising us the debut of the giant god of destruction, Pika. Unfortunately, the apparently, according to the internet, they're going to be taking a break this week for One Piece anime, and we'll be back the following weekend. But overall, it was like I said, it was a so-so episode. Next, Naruto Shippuden. Now this week I'm reviewing 2 episodes because I didn't see the last week's episode in time for last week's podcast.
Mm-hmm.
The 2 episodes being reviewed are episodes 399 and 400, both of which are filler episodes, part of this whole filler Chunin Exam arc. Now 399 is entitled "The Demon Desert Desert Survival," and it's the beginning of the second part, the survival test, which is the second part of the Chunin exams. And you head into the desert where they have to. It's pretty much like the same as before. They got to get the scroll and get to the checkpoint at the center. Now you see everyone going in. You see Kurenai and Asuma along with Guy are at the edge of the desert, supposedly, I guess, because apparently the only supervisors allowed that the Sand Village is allowing in to the desert are the supervisors from the Sand, and in fact the only one from the Sand who's supervising is the Kazekage himself, Gar. But Guy gets a message from Tsunade saying that in order to protect Kazekage's life, because of the fact that this is all just a way to lure out the assassins who want to kill Gaara, they are told by Tsunade to sneak into the desert to help keep an eye on Gaara. Now, we then go over to Team Neji, or Team Guy, I should say, who have come up with a plan to, a plan of attack. And Neji becomes puzzled because even with his powerful Byakugan, he cannot find any other of the teams, but quickly discover that they were caught in a genjutsu. After breaking from it, they try and go after a nearby team of Sand Ninja, but another Sand team led by the teenage ninja named Shira arrives and helps their fellow Sand Ninja escape. And they use another genjutsu so they can get away, and they trick them into into some, gets stuck in some sand waterfall type thing, and then as the enemy team Shira rendezvous with the other two sand teams to tell them about how to ensure to help to give them with the intent to ensure that they all pass. He finds that they are betrayed by the other sand ninja because they don't like him, and luckily for them though, Team Guy shows up to rescue them. Now they question, but then they proceed to question these Sand Ninjas' motives as to why, like, all this has been what the hell's been going on, what's going on, and it is revealed that, or one of the that this Shira guy had only just become a shinobi, and then Lee, of course, also mentioned that, oh, he's just like me. We both can only use taijutsu. And this is where we lead into the next episode, entitled As a Tiejutsu User. And that basically the whole point, this is just an episode around basically Shira's past and how he wasn't allowed to become a ninja or even enter the academy because he only knew taijutsu, and how he was, picked on, and he eventually was, and during one of his training sessions, because he had to train on his own, he accidentally destroys a boulder that was supposed to help prevent sand erosion, and Gaara notices this and decides to test his skills. And I'm impressed by these skills because obviously this is after he met Lee, who proved the idea that a taijutsu only ninja can exist. And after seeing this, he decides to allow him to become Shira to become a ninja. Then, after finding these they leave, or Lee, angry at this, decides to go after the other Sand Ninja to try and get them to apologize. But unfortunately, he is, a 1-on-6 fight isn't easy when they are using ninjutsu and genjutsu against him. But he quickly gets saved by his comrades, Neji and Tintin, or Tenten, whatever. And then they beat the crap out of them, but just before Lee's about to finish them off, Shira intervenes, stating that he doesn't blame them for his troubles, but he blames himself for not having trained hard enough, as he offers the other Sand Ninja his scroll. But his words get to them, and they decide to decline the offer, and instead the two teams give their scrolls to Shira's team and Team Guy. And just before the episode ends, Lee challenges Shira to a match with the intent of not really caring, because with it basically being a match that doesn't have anything to do with the exams, because they both really want to fight each other, and so that's the quote unquote premise for the next episode, is their fight. So it definitely seems like they're really trying to drag out this arc, which is a filler arc, which is not needed because that manga's over. But
money.
It felt what? Yeah, money. I mean, that's pretty much the only thing is, because these two episodes were okay. They were pretty interesting. I mean, it's nice to get to see some more of Team Guy, especially since Neji's dead. So, but it does feel a little bit dragged out and almost kind of like a played out already, since it's pretty much Lee's backstory, just with through another ninja, but copy and paste it almost.
Yeah.
So, but it'll be interesting to see what happens once we get past this little part of this filler arc between Shira and Lee, because we still have all the other interesting ninja to worry about, like Fu from the waterfall, and the group from the Hidden Rain, especially since the one is the one girl on the Hidden Rain Village's team ends up becoming one of the Pains. and of course you have all the other two teams that are representing the Hidden Leaf Village are still also there somewhere, and apparently they'll all pass, as we all know they do. Become are and they before they Lee and Shira set up for their fight, the other members of their respective teams talk about how they're similar, and then Neji talks about, oh well, Shira reminds him of Naruto, and then you have this whole obligatory scene with Naruto just so that you can say, hey, look, this is Naruto. Because even though this is a filler that's supposed to completely not have Naruto in it, they have to find some reason to show Naruto for at least 5 seconds in every episode. This filler arc, for one reason or another. Because apparently, even though this is all the experiences of the various people who competed in the Chunin exams, this is all being remembered by Tsunade. Which was all set up. This is one big, huge flashback of Tsunade's for some reason, even though she's not really in this filler arc. After she saw Naruto being carried off at near death, being carried off, and only still alive because Sakura's basically holding on to his heart. God knows when this freaking how much longer this is gonna go on. I mean, we want to see get back to canon, like, please. But anyway, I digress. That's it.
Alright, so this time I'm going to start with JoJo actually, because this is what I just saw. So I just got done watching the episode, and oh my gosh, this was a great one. It was a slapstick episode dedicated to Joseph. Finally, we got one about Joseph again. But unfortunately, he kind of looks a little bad because he doesn't figure out the magnetism thing till like it's kind of obvious, like way too obvious. I don't know. I think part two Joseph would have figured it out quicker. But anyway, this was hilarious. Um, he touches the outlet, which just looks like on a rock, and he gets shocked and becomes a magnet. And first off, he like interferes with like the radio and everything else, and it's pretty funny. So, he's attracting like the bottle caps and shit like that. And then the buttons uh, on the girl's skirts began to lift because they started to attract upwards, and then he gets decked for being a pervert. And then from an old woman, it happens to an old woman. Initially, I thought that she had like a metal cane that was going to get pulled out from under her, but it turned out that her skirt pulled up too, but she actually liked it. And then we got more of the "oh my god" thing from Joseph, which is pretty hilarious. Everybody loves the English from Joseph. What else? Oh yeah, there was the elevator, of course, where he got stuck, and then the stunned user showed herself, and Mariah showed herself, and it took Avdol to get the emergency button, and then he's just screaming like even when it stopped, and then he plays it off like he was inspecting the escalator. I thought that was brilliant. A good play on the old, I'm drowning even though the water is like 2 inches deep thing, except it's, this was written in the late 80s, so this was where it kind of came from, I guess. But regardless, it was pretty good. And then the whole bathroom scene was amazing. And, they got kicked out. And I thought it was funny because Avdol mentions that, this is not good for his image. This is Polnareff's thing, where he's the one that gets trouble in the bathroom. and and it seems that Avdol also became a magnet, and now they're stuck together, and that's basically the episode in a nutshell. Though I thought the beginning was kind of funny where he like the wind like petrified, the air just like petrified like the shit immediately and turned it to dust and just blew it away. it was just weird like how he looked. And Iggy was in there too, I think, wasn't he? So I mean that's about it. It was pretty simple. It was a great episode, pretty funny, and you know, the preview. Was there a preview? Um, I can't even remember what was in the preview. It was pretty. Oh yeah, there was a little bit of a preview, but it didn't really show much. But I'm assuming, obviously part two is gonna end the Bastet. So, I mean, it doesn't seem like she's gonna be that tough. It's just that her ability is very annoying to deal with. It's one of those instead of like really strong. Even though they say she's really strong, we'll see how good she is in one-on-one combat. But whatever. Okay, so now we're going into Kuroko no Basket, episode 6 of season 3. And let me say, this was also a very, very good episode. A great episode. We got the finisher for Midorima versus Akashi, aka Shutoku versus Rakuzan. And in this match, we see what the trump card is ultimately, which is Tako passing into Midorima, who's already into the shooting position. And I thought that was awesome. When I first read that in the manga, I was like, dude, that's sick. And I think the anime really, really did a great job of animating that and portraying the duo. And it was only, showing what Midorima's gone through, basically, where he had been completely shut off to his team in the flashback. He didn't care about anybody, but now he trusts his teammates, especially Tako. So that works for a little while, and it's really hype during that time up until Akashi obviously breaks that momentum, but we see that flashback, and we get more interaction between the two of them, and we really, really get to see the development between the two of them, especially, and just their characters in general, not just the relationship. So I thought that was really good. Um, and then Akashi stops it by he he shoots in his own goal, scoring 2 points for Shutoku, and really gives Rakuzan a wake up call, especially by saying, I'll gouge out my eyes and offer them up to you if we lose. That'll be, my punishment since I scored purposely on us. So, you know, everyone was like, he's crazy, but he might just do it. But that's how much confidence he had that they were going to win, and ultimately they do, due to the fact that Akashi already knew what to do in that situation. He discerned that the best way of stopping that combination is just simply by stepping between them and intercepting the pass, which was pretty obvious, but it also takes a lot of skill to really get the timing off because Takao was going really fast. He was passing it quickly, and Akashi is just that skilled that he doesn't always need the Emperor's Eye just to discern that. And we get to see that Akashi is very fast, and that's very evident now. Um, to the point where he's also able to time his shot where at the very end Midorima he gets ankle broken and then he stands up and tries to block, but he's just a second off or a split second off even. But speaking of a little earlier, he had a second effort that made him pass to Nibuya, which got blocked by Otsubo, but it was really cool how he fell and then got that second effort. It was Midorima was awesome in this episode, and so was Akashi. I thought this was a great episode, a great finisher to the game. It was what, 3 episodes? I mean, it's fast. I do get it. But at the same time, it was also very fast in the manga, and I think they covered everything. Honestly, I don't think they skipped anything in the manga. They didn't extend it either. This was meant to be kind of a short match, but if you think about it, um, what was the Kaijo versus Toho? That's what it was. Kaijo versus Toho was also 3 episodes. So if you think about it that way, um, it was also the same length as Kaijo versus Toho. The two teams that are not Seiren fighting each other, two um, Generation of Miracles, Kiseki no Sedai, that are going up against each other. So it makes sense. It follows the formula from season one, Kuroko no Basket One, when the soundtrack was off the charts good. Though not that it's still awesome now, but season one was the best in terms of soundtrack. I still I still can't believe, just off topic, I still can't believe they didn't release some of the best like themes from that track. Like just, I mean, best tracks from that OST. They didn't release them, and so damn. But anyway, I guess that'll be it for the episode. It was a great episode. We had a really good duo for anime this week, for me at least.